Got it. All right, we are back for our 5th installment of our virtual rent party. Welcome back to our audience. I'm a couple minutes late getting started, but that's because I got a jam-packed studio in here today. I have some very special guests. As a matter of fact, we have our first interview with a mayoral candidate. Michael Green is in the building for us today. He's going to talk about a range of issues that are affecting the city, including what he plans to do for Black-owned businesses, some of the violence that's plagued the city of late. We want to hear about some policies and things that he has on. But we also have 3 phenomenal entrepreneurs that are in the building. One of my favorite, DJ Maestro, Hassan Stevens, will come in and talk about his entrepreneurial trek. Not only that, but how he's led an organization as an executive to one of the most successful not-for-profits we have in the city. 2 other special guests that we have in today. We have Ken from Pace Wave Photography, known him a very long time, one of the top photographers in the city. So we'll have an interview with him. And my dear friend is also here. She is a serial entrepreneur. Not only does she have a catering business, but she has an essential health business. This was started as a result of the pandemic. She runs both A Taste of Honey and Touched by Honey. And in the studio with us is a very special guest, Stacey Bailey. Why don't you come over and join me, Stacey?
How are you, Ricky?
I'm well. How you doing?
I
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Who's going to listen to us if we complain anyway, right?
Right.
All right, thank you. So I was wondering, I've been wanting to have you on the show for a long time. Wanted to hear about how you got into your second business now. I've known you for a while as a caterer. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey starting with your first business and all the way up to your second business now?
Well, I started out as a chef at Upstate University, and for 6 years I did that, and I wasn't satisfied with that. So one day I was talking to my husband, and he said, if you want to cook so much, why don't you just quit? And I'm like, well, who's going to help? Who's going to take care of the house? He was like, I got you. And so once he said that, I quit my job January of 2019, and it was just a whirlwind from there. I've done non-for-profit organizations. I've won awards. I've been I was the first caterer to be actually listed as the MWBE caterer for the city of Syracuse. I know there were others, but I was the first one that was actually in the book. I won the 2020 pitch competition, and then the pandemic hit. So when the pandemic hit, I lost all of my business. So I didn't have anything. Like, I was like at a loss. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And so from March until about June, I was also an activist out there in the streets. I was doing stuff with Last Chance for Change. And then once that all stopped, my daughter got really sick. So when she got really sick, it was like, how do I help her? And my mom, who's Caribbean, both my parents are from Central America, she was like, you know what to do. You know you got the herbs. You use the herbs and try and help her out. So I went back to my roots. I went and bought all these books, and I started to study what can help her with her stomach issues and her blood clots in her chest and stuff like that. So that's where my teas and stuff came from. And then she just needed something to like cheer her up. So I started making scented candles for her to burn in her room to like give her that feeling of love and coziness while she's in her room. And then from there, people started hearing about it as I was telling them about it, and the business took off from there.
This is wonderful. Now, I know both of your businesses are rooted in the word honey.
Right.
Why don't you tell us about the connection to honey and why it's so essential to your business?
Well, one of my aunts who passed away, she always called me honey.
Uh-huh.
And so when everything started, and then I was at work, people would call me honey, and it just clicked for me, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm Stacey Bailey, which is B, and my mom calls me B all the time. Like, she calls me the B. So I put the two together.
Honeybee.
Honeybee. And so that's where everything comes together, and all my businesses have honey in it. So one has a bee, which is actually my face, meshed with a bee. So I got somebody to graphically put the bee to my face. That's the taste of honey. And then the touch by honey was just this cute little bee that I saw, and I was like, I need that. And so, eventually I would like to have all the senses as a business. So it'll go down: taste, touch, kiss, all that, like everything. Like I want it all to be like, but all of it will have honey in it.
Now let's talk more about your catering journey.
Right.
I know that you did win the pitch competition
Yep.
some time back. If I'm not mistaken, that was about $5,000,
Yep.
which is phenomenal.
Yep.
We know how difficult it is for Black and brown businesses to come upon capital. How did that help your business grow?
So what it did for me was it got me supplies. It helped me to pay down on some debt that I had from the beginning of the business, because being an entrepreneur and not knowing what you're doing and starting a business, you mess up a lot. Like, so there's some
Absolutely.
things that you do wrong. You spend the money in the wrong places and stuff. So that was me. Like, I did everything wrong. I made a lot of money, but it wasn't a lot of money because I didn't have the tools to put everything in place. So here comes KeyBank Boost and Build. They gave us, and Center State CEO, they gave us help with showing us how to do finances, showing us that I was losing money in my business because I was charging prices that weren't reasonable for myself.
Absolutely.
So I was making less money than I thought. It was, like, I'll give you an example. My empanadas that I make, I was making them and selling them for $2.50, and I was only making 10-cent profit.
Right.
So I learned all of that after I had already started the business, been doing it for 8 months and stuff. And so that kind of like helped me do it. So when I started the second business, I did everything right, got my LLC, got everything. Thank you for that advice.
Absolutely.
That helped me a lot with the second business. So now I'm really successful, right? So I know I have to keep my business account separate from my personal account, which a lot of people don't do. They spend as soon as they get it.
Absolutely. And so this isn't uncommon. What other wisdom would you impart before we move on to your second business? What other wisdom would you impart on young entrepreneurs that are going through there? You had a lot of mistakes that you learned from personally. What's the best advice that you can give an entrepreneur starting out?
Be transparent. Let people know if you need help, because if you don't tell anybody, they won't know the help that you need. If you don't tell them that you need help, how are they going to help you? So you'll think you're successful, and then when you turn around and look at you, if you don't have anything. I also mentor a lot of the caterers, the young caterers coming up now, and giving them that sage advice. And I always tell them, if you're a caterer or you're anything else, make sure you are legal, because you can't do anything or get anything if you're not legal.
And I know that that helped out your business tremendously to be technically sound. Once you had the experience, you've now moved into the second phase and starting your second business. Why don't you tell us more about how this business is doing? I know that you pivoted from the pandemic. This now allows you to have a second stream of income that's coming in. What advice would you have giving another entrepreneur that was a serial entrepreneur like yourself? You have family commitments. How do you manage all of that under the constraints of the pandemic?
So I have a time schedule, right? So I wake up, my husband gets out, he leaves at 5:30. So when he leaves at 5:30, my alarm is set at 6:30. So I get downstairs, I meditate, and once I'm done meditating, I will start the business. So it's about 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I move from one business to another business. So I'll start with Taste of Honey, because that one is the one that's not really doing any real stuff. So I'll check all the invoices that's coming in, or if anybody's called me. And once I'm done with that and I set those invoices aside, then I start to do Kansas stuff and working on that stuff.
And sounds like you have a terrific regimen that's in place. You also have a wonderful support system. So you've received some technical assistance from folks that are outside. Shout out to Tamika Otis from KeyBank Boost and Build. I know she's been instrumental in making sure that got off the ground. I do want to make sure we shout you out, Tamika. I see you.
Yes.
I know you still love you and support you, sister. Thank you for helping her through this journey. I want to talk about one or two of these products, because this is one of my favorite. You know I had to have you bring this. I've been on you about this soap. I love your logo being embossed on this soap. You've got some other wonderful scents that I almost ate.
Right.
And they're candles. They smell
candles,
really good. So tell me a little bit about them, the medicinal use of them, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so what you're holding right now is a brown sugar turmeric soap bar, but it's also a scrub. The brown sugar makes it a scrub. So the difference between my soap scrub and other people's soap scrubs is that its shelf life is longer.
Okay.
So if you use a regular soap scrub and you put water in it, or you dip into it too much, you can't use it. The bacteria becomes harmful to you, so you can't use it. So I created a soap scrub. So what that soap scrub does is it gives it sustainability. After you wet it, you can still just put it down and use it over and over again. That gives you about 5 uses out of that.
Okay, this is wonderful.
And because the turmeric is in it, it helps with hyperpigmentation. And so if you have any dark marks or on your face, it'll even it out for you.
And your products, of course, are gender neutral. They are for both male and female.
They're gender neutral. They're vegan, so they're eco-friendly, and they're hypoallergenic, so a baby could use it.
Now, tell us, before we exit, where can folks find your products? how can they reach you to be able to buy your products from?
So I had something special that I did for you today.
Yes.
What happens is after today, starting tomorrow, anybody that's watching this live has a coupon that they'll be able to get. So it's gonna be Rent Party 10, and they get 10% off their whole purchase.
Let's go. Let's go. Virtual Rent Party. I hope you heard that. 10% off your
Rent Party
purchase.
10, and you'll get 10% off your purchase. It can be a single item or it can be the whole thing. And then my launching is June 1st.
Okay.
So that's why I wanted to make sure that I came on here now so that we can announce it properly and get it out. So you're the first person that everybody knows. June 1st is the launch of the website. And they can reach me at www.touchedbyhoney.be.
Okay, listen, I can't let you leave without saying thank you. Look what she brought. She brought us some food, some chicken from Taste by Honey, one of the best cooks we have in the city, caterers. I can't wait to try this when I get off the show.
And then you got to try the tea.
Oh, and also the tea. Thank you so much for the blue tea that she also brought in here. The minute this show wraps, I know what I'll be eating and getting into. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to come out, Stacey. You know I've wanted you on the show for a while.
I appreciate you having me too.
Thank you to you, everybody that supported her business. One last time, tell folks where they can find you. The website again is?
www.touchedbyhoney.be.
Thank you so much for coming out. Chris, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back with Michael Green, our first mayoral candidate. Will be in the building. We've got some good questions for him. We'll be back in a few moments.
Turn the mics up. Turn that mic up. Yeah, the beat is knocking. Need that mic up though. Turn that. What? Turn it louder. Yeah. Who shot you? Separate the weak from the opsa. Leap hard to creep them Brooklyn streets. It's on again. Stop all that bickering beef. I can hear sweat trickling down your cheek. Your heartbeat sound like Sasquatch feet. Thundering, shaking the concrete. Then the shit stop when I fall the plot. Neighbors call the cops, said they heard mad shots. Saw me in the drop, 3 1/4. Slaughter, electrical tape around the daughter. Old school, new school, need to learn though. I burn, baby, burn like disco inferno. Burn slow like with yayo. Peel more skins than Idaho potato. People know the lyrical molesting is taking place. Messing with B.I.G. it ain't safe. I make your skin chafe. Rashes on the masses. Bumps and bruises. And Land Cruisers. Big Papa smash fools. Bash fools. Mad because I know the cash rules. Everything around me, 2 Glock 9s. Any motherfucker whispering about mine. And I'm Brooklyn's finest. You rewind this. Bad boys behind this.
DJ Maestro.
And I be the best. You see the rest, they looking like they need a rest. One more time.
I'ma spit at you some hits that's gonna get at you and be messing with your mind. Stop talking quick, cause you out there running your mouth, really don't know who you dealing with. Here we go again. How many times do I have to tell you rap cats I have no friends? You still acting up, running around here like some brand new chicken that's about to get. The game don't stop. I'm still getting down for whatever, whenever. That's why this joint is hot. Can't keep it real. Now, some of us do, but most of us don't. That's just how I brother feel. I shed blood for my people that'll keep you looking see-through if ever you try to creep through. DM, cause if you wanna, we got it, come and get it, player, we with it. All you gotta do is say it, baby. Ride or die, what I really want, what I really want. DM, cause if you wanna, we got it, come and get it, player, we with it. All you gotta do is say it, baby. Ride or die, what I really want, what I really want. You still playing games, you gon' think it's a joke until they no longer remember your name. That's how we do 'em. Make cowards disappear in the thin air. I push it through 'em. Never coming back. Last time you saw that kid, it's the last time you see that kid. In a minute, you gon' have grandma being the only family member left. Bust my. I got to kill a sucker, but I'm always down for the one-on-one. Dog, so light. We gon' get to the bottom of this here. If it takes all night. Stop, drop, open up shop. Fake up, screaming for the cops. Ride or die. What that means is that I'll tell money bye-bye and pop him in his right eye. I pray these understand our passion.
DJ Maestro.
Yes.
Maybach music.
Godfather with a gun full of snakes. Car Porsche trying to give away.
All right, I am back live with a very special guest in the studio. We have for you our very first mayoral candidate. This is particularly important for the city of Syracuse and for entrepreneurs like myself. We want to know how our mayoral candidates will handle entrepreneurs and black and brown owned businesses in the city. And the first candidate to step up to the bat for us is none other than Michael Green, Councilor Michael Green, I should say. He is currently serving on the Syracuse Common Council. This is his first mayoral race. And Michael Green, welcome to the studio. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me, Rick.
Thank you. 2021. You decided to throw your hat in the ring. Tell us a little bit about your campaign.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, I've been on the council since 2018, and there's been some progress in the city, but there's still a lot of people, a lot of neighborhoods that are being left behind. And for me, I feel like unless we really start changing some of the policies that are in place right now, things will never really get better for so many people in the city. So that's why I decided to run. I put together this whole policy platform. It's 14 different things called the City for All of Us. It's everything from police reform to economic development to transportation, and it would change the status quo in the city. So that's why I decided to run.
I can't wait to delve into some of those. I put out for our audience some questions that they wanted to ask you directly, especially in regards to some events that are happening in the city of late. I know that you know that there has been some violence-plagued incidents that have taken place over the course of the last week or so. In particular, I know Decca Dancel, who is a very active community activist, had a few questions that she wanted to ask in regards to recreation, other things that you could do for our youth that would enable us to kind of mitigate some of the circumstances in the city. What plans do you have to address our youth, the violence in the city, and so on?
Yeah, so anytime there's violence in the city, a series of policy failures has created that circumstance. So you've got young kids that don't have enough recreational opportunities, don't have sports activities, don't have music activities, maybe don't have job opportunities, right, where they could be having an after-school job. They maybe don't have enough support in the community from older mentors, from other community leaders, from community groups that would give them the guidance and the mentorship that they need. So as a city, it's really about, for one, providing resources from the city, but then also leaning on community organizations that are doing that work already and giving them the resources and support that they need. So that's got to be number one, is giving them the opportunity. But then as a city government too, we have a police department. We need to make sure the police are in the community, that are understanding the issues that are going on, so that when these types of incidents happen, we can try to stop the next one.
thank you very much for acknowledging the fact that a lot of times the violence and the things that you see happening in the city are a result of policy failures. I think that's a critical discussion for many of the community members. As it relates to your policies, what are some specific things related to your policy that you plan to do to offset those? I know you mentioned police reform, addressing things through job opportunities and so on. What specific in your policies will relate to that for the community?
So let's talk about job opportunities. We need more neighborhood small businesses, particularly local minority-owned businesses. That if you could employ people in the community, if you could give a 16, 17-year-old kid a job opportunity, that's going to provide him a pathway. So, we can start. Let's look at the neighborhood corridors in the city. Let's look at South Salina Street. Let's look at South Geddes Street. Let's look at Grant Boulevard. Those places are not what they used to be. There used to be, a lot of different shops there that employed locals. And we got to put the forefront in some of these neighborhoods and say, you're going to get free rent for a year if you win this business competition, and we're going to give you the resources to build out your space, to get your business off and running. And that kind of local business opportunities in the neighborhoods, I think, is really the best thing we can do.
I know that you've been very vocal about some of the fiscal responsibility of the powers that be within the city. I know your votes have been consistent with that, just in terms of opening up a Pandora's box in terms of conversation. Recently, there was a conversation regarding COVID funding and that funding going towards an art project as opposed to the priorities that you just mentioned in the city. Can you explain your position and why you voted no on that?
Yeah, so this was a proposal to have $75,000 of city COVID relief money go to an artist that's based in Los Angeles to paint a mural of local basketball legends. Everyone likes public art, no one's against art, but when you have poverty in our community, when you have infrastructure that's not up to speed, that's just not the best use of that money. So I voted no because I think we have greater, more urgent needs in the city. And to me, it just wasn't the best use of money. And if you were going to use that money, let's put it into local artists. Let's put it into black and brown artists that would be able to put that money to use in the community.
Thank you for that as well. Now, I know you've also been very vocal about some development projects that have occurred in the city. You have sort of sided on the fiscally conservative side of things in terms of giving away benefits from the city and leveraging greater opportunities when they are there. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say conservative, but what I would say is we've got to protect our city resources and not give them away to nonprofits, corporations, and give them all these tax breaks. So if you go back to the tech garden, that's something where everyone said you can't fight Center State CEO, and I said it's the right thing to do, and I wanted to make them pay their fair share in the city. So that's something that's important to me is, again, when you have all these infrastructure projects, all these needs in the community, the city should get its fair share from those types of projects, and I'm happy to stand up and do that.
I think that's critically important when you have a really eroded tax base. As you are aware, about 40% of the population is supporting the entire city when it comes to taxes. What are some of your plans related to policy to be able to increase our tax base within the city?
Well, I mean, SIDA, which is the Syracuse Industrial Development Agency, and when you look at what our tax breaks are on some of these development projects, they're more generous than what you see in the county, in Rochester, and Buffalo. And in some projects, it makes sense. If you're investing in a neighborhood corridor on South Ave or something like that, it's a smaller project going to employ people. That's good. We want to have it happen. But if it's a student housing project that's happening either way, it's a $50 million project, they don't need a tax break. And we need to be able to say no when the time is right.
Absolutely. Our previous guest came on and talked about the constraints as a minority-owned business, Stacey Bailey of a Touch by Honey, and the lack of opportunity to have resources come in. Paychex Protection Program is a primary example where less than 2% of minority-owned businesses not qualified, but didn't receive funding. Less than 2% of those businesses were minority-owned. What can you do in terms of your policy that will address that shortage for those minority-owned businesses?
I think it's about leveraging the experts in the community. I mean, we have minority entrepreneurs in this community that are doing the work, but they're not empowered, right? And it's really about bringing people together to the table, putting the right people in place to say, what do you need? What can the city do? How can we make it easier? Who are the people out in the community that have the skill set to open their own business but aren't because there's constraints? And what are that look like? Is it financial? Is it training? What kind of things can we do? But it's got to be a priority because you really don't have a pathway out of poverty unless you have local businesses that can drive that change in the economy.
Absolutely. Last question I'll have for you, just in terms of your plans directly to address minority and women-owned businesses within the city. You mentioned a 14-point plan that you have in place. Of those 14 points, which of those will directly affect minority and women-owned business enterprises within the city?
So I think all of them to some extent, right? I mean, they're all things that would empower everyone in the city. But I think we've got to really look at making sure we're not giving tax breaks to some of the bigger corporations because they traditionally have not gone to minority-owned businesses. So I think we need to do stronger outreach in the minority business community to make sure that they're at the table to get those breaks when they're available.
Okay, and I said last question, but I can't let you leave without addressing some of the recent tragedies that have occurred within the city. This week, we lost 2 teenagers within the city under tragic circumstances. Violence has proliferated throughout the city. What are your plans to address some of that specifically? And I know there was a question from an audience member who wanted to know, with the recent layoff of some of our police and the understaffing of our police, how do you intend to address that?
Well, so first of all, when you have a young person get killed, there's no worse tragedy than for a parent to have to bury their child. So
Absolutely.
This has got to be the most urgent thing that we can address in the city right now. For the police department, look, we have more police per capita than most other cities. It's really about how we're managing it and how we're deploying those officers, right? So I have 2 things, and one of the biggest things for me to change the police department would be to have a civilian commissioner of public safety that would use best practices from around the country. That wouldn't be a career cop, it would be a policy person to go in and look at how we're deploying officers to make sure we're doing it in the best, most efficient way, because right now I think there's a lot of policies we can change within that department.
Okay. And the last thing that you would want the audience to know about your campaign, again, you've been very vocal about some of the fiscal choices that the city has made. Your campaign is picking up a tremendous amount of momentum. I see that you outraised some of the other candidates 3-1. What are some of the last things that you would like our audience to know about your campaign?
Sure. So this isn't about me. I'm not special. There's nothing about my background that's unique than other people in the community. This is about ideas, and it's about how we can change the status quo in the city. So that's really what it's about, is supporting the ideas that will bring change. But most of all, I want you to vote. I mean, I would love you to vote for me, but you really need to make sure your voice is heard. So it's by June 22nd. Make sure you go out there and vote.
Michael Green, listen, I cannot thank you enough for taking the time to come out, spell out some of your policies, some of your concerns for the city. Want to wish you the best of luck with your campaign, and thank you for being the first mayoral candidate that we've had on the virtual rent party, Common Councilor Michael Green. Thanks for coming out, Michael.
Thanks for having me.
All right, appreciate it.
Forget your man, now give it to me.
Give me that funk, that sweet, that nasty, that gushy stuff.
But don't bullshit me.
Come on, give me that funk, that sweet, that nasty, that gushy stuff.
When the Remy's in the system, ain't no telling when I fuck 'em, will I diss 'em. That's what they be yelling. I'm a pimp by blood, not relation. Y'all be chasing, I'll replace them, huh? Drunk on Chris, mommy on E. Can't keep a little model hands off me. Both in the club, singing off key. And I wish I never met her at all. It gets better, ordered another round. It's about to go down. Got 6 model chicks, 6 bottles of Chris, 4 velvet ass, got weed everywhere. What do you say? Me, you, and your your Chloe glasses. Go somewhere private where we could discuss fashion, like Prada blouse, Gucci bra, okay, Filth Mart jeans. Take that off.
Give it to me.
Give me that funk, that sweet, that nasty, that gushy stuff.
Don't bullshit me.
Come on, give me that funk, that sweet, that nasty, that gushy stuff.
Something y'all to cut up to.
Give me that funk, that sweet, that nasty, that gushy stuff. Mama, give me that funk, that sweet, that nasty.
Everybody get your roll on. I know shorty and she doesn't want no slow song. Had a man last year, life goes on. Haven't let that thing loose, girl, in so long. You been inside, know you like to lay low. I've been peeping what you bringing to the table. Working hard, girl, everything paid for. First, last phone bill, car, no cable. With your phone out, gotta hit them angles. With your phone out, snapping like you Fable. And you showing off, but it's alright. And you showing off, but it's alright. It's a short life, yeah.
Baby girl, you're so damn fine though. I'm trying to know if I can hit it from behind though. I'm sipping on you like some fine wine though. And when it's over, I press rewind though. Hey, you talking bands, girl, I got it. Benjamin's all in my pocket. I traded in my trues for some robbers. You playing Batman, bet he's gonna rob us. Hey, I got a Glock in my Rari. Hey, 17 shots from 38. I got a Glock in my Rari. 17 shots from 38. She's fine, wonder when she'll be mine. She walked past like praise, rewind to see that I want more time. And I got this soda. Remy boys, they know us. All fast money, no slow us. No one can control us.
Yeah, my ticket, tell me what you see. Is it money or it's me? I smoke 20, smell mellow. I got honeys in my beat. They like Monty, can you be?
I want you to be mine again, baby. Ay, I know my lifestyle is driving you crazy. Ay, I cannot see myself without you. We call them fans down, girl, you know how we do. I go out of my way to please you. I go out of my way to see you. And I want you to be mine again, baby. Ay, I know my lifestyle is driving you crazy. Ay, but I cannot see myself without you. We call them fans down, girl, you know how we do. I go out of my way to please you. I go out of the way to see you. I ain't playing no games, baby, can you understand? I'm a young living, coming from the trap. All the fucking knows get it. I ain't chasing no girl, I'm talking about the digits. Big bank rolls in my pockets, all 50s. Turned a little check, then I showed you how to triple it. Baby, it's who bear, only one true. I don't give a who can't attach on my face. She don't give a who's still looking too good that you don't sight. I'm trying to finish this who I started with. I'm trying to spend it all who I got it with. Hey, shit my track plane, let it hit the band though. Hey, we be going up, watch out for the bands go. Hey, my baby, she jump out the lamb. Hey, run them bands up smooth, how the wind go. Hey, jumping wood, got the soul out the window.
Hey, she's a runner, she's a track star. She gon' run away when it gets hard. She can't take the pain, she can't get scarred. She hurt anyone that gets involved. Don't wanna commit, why take it this far? She gon' do the race, just not this one. Love is a game you used to cheer for. When I was down to talk, you weren't here for. You, leave a trail of heartbreak, get heartache like it cool. I guess way too late is convenient for you. The dirt you left don't turn into dust, it don't move. It's still waiting for you. Girl, you're killing me, you're tweaking all. I asked you what you feeling, you don't speak at all. But you go straight to Twitter, you gon' tweet it all. You must want another nigga to be alone.
What you want to see?
We was supposed to fight high through the storm. You made the decision, chose the easy one. Say you following your heart, but girl, you leaving one. Wanted me to take you back with open reaching on.
And I can't do that, mom.
Lost for words, let it hurt. Setting my heart on fire, setting my heart on fire.
I put the new 4Gs on the G. I trap into the bloody bottoms is underneath. Cause all my got it out the streets. I keep 100 racks inside my jeans. I remember hitting them all with the whole team. Now I can't answer calls cause I'm balling. I was waking up getting racks in the morning. I was broke, now I'm rich, deep, salty. All this designer on my body got me drip, drip. Hey, straight up out the objects, I'm a big crip. If I got up on a lean, I'm a sip, sip. I run the racks up with my queen like London and Nip. But I got rich on all these, I didn't forget back. I had to go through the struggle, I didn't forget that. I hopped inside of the Maybach and now I can sit back. Deep know me now, cause I got them big racks. Cause I'm getting money now, I know you heard that. Young on the corner, bitch, I had to serve crack. Uncle fronted me some peas, had to get them birds back. We came up on dirty money, I gave it a bird back. Cut off the rain and I gave my the new coupe. Either you run a y'all gang or you Subaru. Got a New Orleans Tim in that voodoo. And I'm that down, who knew? I put the new 4Gs on the G. I trap into the bloody bottoms is underneath. Cause I might got it out the streets. I keep 100 racks.
All right, I am back. Virtual Rent Party, episode 5. I'm back with my third guest. This is our 5th installment, and I have with me a very special guest, childhood friend I've grown up with and known for a number of years. I can't even go back to how long I've known this guy. This is, so 7th, 8th grade. You didn't have to tell him how old I am, brother. Don't tell him how old I am. Kenny Pace of Pace Wave Photography. Welcome to the studio. Ken, how are you?
Thank you, man. It's a pleasure, bro. You know, it's a great thing, man, to finally make it here. You know, you've been doing it for a while. I've seen a few, so I'm glad I finally made it here. And, I'm glad to join in.
Good. I want to talk to you. I wanted you to talk specifically about black male entrepreneurship in the city. You are one of the longest serving entrepreneurs that I've known.
Right.
You started your photography business a number of years ago.
Right.
How long have you been in business and how did that journey start for you?
Well, for me, I moved out of Syracuse in '97.
Okay.
And I headed south because that's where the vibe was. Everything was going south, so I followed that bird. But I didn't go to Atlanta like everybody else. I went to Florida and I was in Tallahassee.
Okay.
You know, going messing around with family, trying to be in school. And then I moved to South Florida. So I was in South Florida for a while till about '08, and then I came back to Syracuse. And when I came back, I was gonna turn right back around and go back down south.
Oh wow.
But when I got to Syracuse, man, it was so gray, and I was just like, yo, this is crazy. So I was like, I gotta stay. I'm gonna bring a vibe here.
Right.
So when I got here, there were people that were doing things, but there was something I saw when I was in the South that I wanted to bring here. And so it started with that, you know what I mean? So there were people that I saw, but you're talking about maybe '08, '09, well, when I got here, I was gonna just turn back around and go back down south.
So you didn't see a lot of hope for the city just in terms of opportunity?
At all.
And this is important for us to talk about. You know, I just interviewed mayoral candidate Michael Green, and we were talking about the lack of opportunities that were in the city.
Right.
For some reason, you decided to stay and invest as both an entrepreneur and a private citizen.
Right.
You invested in your business. What was the key to making you do that?
Knowing that there was potential here. So one of the things that happened to me when I lived in South Florida was it was so expensive. So when I got back here, and this was on the other side of '08, '09, so the recession had just kicked in. So life had changed a little bit, and because of that, I felt that it was going to be important after the recession of '08 for us to be in business. So it was like the recession of '08, '09, and Obama getting elected that made me feel like I needed to have something to show for it.
Oh, and this is important to link that. So we're talking about the tide of the political current in the country changed.
Right.
Again, just interviewed a mayoral candidate to talk about some of the ways that their policies would be able to help us as entrepreneurs.
Right.
You had a business right here on South Salina Street for a number of years. You held that storefront.
Yes, I did.
Tell us about that journey and how you opened that business in that storefront.
Really, at the end of the day, and this atmosphere is so nice here. I gotta just interject. There's the music playing. You know,
I love it. We got DJ Maestro in the building.
It's real nice in here, and everybody's hanging out, chilling. I feel like I'm in like 40/40 vibe right now.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I really like
appreciate
it. One of the things that happened on Salina was I ended up being one of the first entrepreneurs of
color.
Yeah, I was black.
Yes.
On my block,
I remember.
The BSW people. My whole block was street game BSW. They were big boys. I was the only black guy in that building. CCA was in my building that I was in. The check cashing was on the side. So I was by myself, and I had another guy on the back side, but he wasn't on the front. So I was by myself, and these people were not prepared to take us serious at all. You know, the Asian people who were next door to me thought I was going to be gone in 6 months. They were ready to take over my space. I was determined to show that we could have businesses, we could be serious, we could be held accountable. You know, it wasn't going to be a 6-month run. 6 years downtown? Are you kidding me?
Absolutely.
So there were a lot of highs. I met a lot of people. I got to learn a lot of different things. You know, I've always been quasi-political as we were younger. So it was easy for me to go to town, you know, the meetings at City Hall, or to, you know, talk to the politicians as I seen them coming through the downtown. So being downtown was very important, and the people could see me. It was all about visual. It was visual for me.
Yeah.
So
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I just wanted people to be able to see something visually that, you know.
I wanted to know, what were some of the ways that politicians helped support your business in being able to maintain that space for 6 years, as you said?
Yeah.
I do remember you being almost the sole business of color.
Right.
Besides the store, you know, I know that we had the hair store that was next to you.
Right.
But as far as the black community, I don't remember in all of my years many black-owned businesses in this main thoroughfare on Salina Street. And what was that like?
That was huge for me. You know, for the kids watching, it didn't mean anything. But from our generation, that was a big deal. That was a huge deal to be downtown at that time on the 300 block. Now, after I left, there were like 3 or 4 other businesses that came. Fluorescence was one, and they're still over there right now.
Absolutely.
But I was the first one. And so I had to take things very seriously the way I conducted business. But one of the things that happened with a lot of the politicians is they would tell me about meetings. They would tell me about situations, grants, opportunities, because I was available. One of the things I learned from a good friend of mine who has a much bigger scale than mine, right? My good friend who with what's the pizza company name? Is it Pepinos?
Pepinos. Oh, John Vigilotti.
You know Vig. You know we know Vig.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, me and Vig went to Lemoyne together.
Okay.
So I really know Vig before high school.
Okay.
Vig told me, he said, yo, even though I got all these contracts, even though my business is booming, you gotta go to these meetings. You gotta go to City Hall. This is where. So I took Vig's advice. Even, you know, me and Vig knew each other a very long time.
Absolutely.
So a lot of people that I know, we have relationships. I know Asians. I know Arabs that I have very serious business conversations with, and they tell me, listen, so going to the meetings, going to City Hall, it's very important. You can be broke, walk into those meetings, to me, and come out a new person and have an opportunity.
So there's a lot of knowledge inside of there. You know, you're speaking on some things that I'm very intimate with as one of the technical assistance providers in the city. You know, I go out and help black-owned businesses to become more informed about these opportunities. It's one of the reasons why we don't just reach out to our entrepreneurs. We have, again, politicians that are here because of the systematic barriers that we face in order to be successful as a business owner. You're a photographer, very skilled photographer, have been around. Your studio is now located where?
Now the new location, the great location. And here's the funny thing about the location. So your previous guest, which was Honey, say her name again now?
Taste by Honey and Stacey Bailey.
Taste by Honey and I are in the same building.
Oh,
right
okay.
Now.
All right.
So I'm on the 4th floor.
Wow.
They're on the 2nd floor. We're both over off of North State Street, at the corner of North State Street and James. So there's a nice brick building that right now is in the middle of some legal litigation because they're trying to sell it, use it for the beds for the guys with the mission. But that's where we're currently located. So my studio is on the 4th floor, and those guys are on the 2nd floor.
I think the most important piece with that, you're talking about other businesses that are now located in that building. And then since the time that you were first located downtown, there has been a proliferation of black and brown owned businesses. We have multiplied, it seems like by the hundreds. You were one of the first entrepreneurs. And again, one of the reasons I brought you on the show was to talk about your history, what that journey was like, and how you could inspire some other black males in particular. I've worked with a number of black women-owned businesses, but very few black male businesses. What advice can you give those black males that are seeking opportunities in the city as far as starting their own businesses?
Yes, and I'm going to sum it up for you because it's very important to me. Some businesses, some people with business opportunities are going to make it to the business that you offer. The business that you offer is for more serious businesses. When people get serious with their business, they decide to call a person like you, let's say, or the service or the company that you provide. But that's very serious to me. Well, we need people before that point who are kind of mom and pop-ish, right? Who their business can be afforded out of their pocket. It might be a $500 pocket business out of your pocket. It needs to be a $1,000 business. It can't be a $5,000 business. It can't be a $15,000. You can't. Why would you have a location for your business to be at if you can't pay the rent?
Right. And so we're talking about being able to grow and develop those businesses from seedling businesses, mom and pop, again, in desperate need of storefront opportunities. Again, it was one of the reasons why we kind of called Michael Green on here. We want to hear from all of our elected officials, really, what are the policies that will be in place that will support the infrastructure of these smaller businesses like yourself? Again, fortunately, you've been open now. I think the average black-owned business is open 2 years, a little bit under 2 years. You're how many years in counting now?
This is going to be 11 years. The new location that we've been at, I got in 2 months before COVID started. We've been open. We've been in business the whole entire time.
Wow.
No PPP. I don't even know what a PPP is because I've already been doing my business already, and I'm not knocking it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you know, I can really joke around, so I'm joking when I say that. But
important point. So we talked about that.
I've been doing my business long before this happened, but I think the PPP situation is a great opportunity to get people into the market.
Absolutely.
Because we really need to flood the market with a lot of money, and this is one of the ways that they're going to do that through this mechanism. So it does work out. But at the end of the day, one of the things that happened for me before COVID happened was I had just signed my lease for 3 years.
And as we know, we talked about some of the challenges that brown-owned businesses can face. A 3-year lease obligation is certainly one of those. But again, I wanted to talk about specifically you being in business that number of years, being a role model and an entrepreneur as a black male. You've been open for 11 years now. Why don't you tell folks where they can find your business at?
Well,
how do they contact you?
Everyone knows I'm the Facebook guy. And just for the record, before we go, one of the things that I did to be unique when I got here, outside of having a billboard, because I invested in myself before I had a location. So I had 3 billboards, 2 in front of Kentucky Fried Chicken, and I didn't even have a location because I had to believe in myself.
Wow.
And if you're not going to believe in yourself, then it doesn't matter. So you have to be prepared to make a sacrifice.
Marketing and advertising is really key and critical to getting your business off the ground. He talked about social media. You can find him there.
Of course.
Where's that Facebook page?
I'm the Facebook King. I'm just Kenny Pace or Pace One Way Photography.
Pace One Way Photography on Facebook. Have a website or anything else they can get it to?
Once people get to me through Facebook, everything opens from there.
All right. Again, special guest known for a long time, Kenny Pace of Pace One Photography here in the building. I want to thank you for coming out and talking about your journey for entrepreneurship. Pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you, Kenny.
I love you, brother. I
love you back, man. Thank you.
I love you. I love those sneakers. I love that.
Thank you, black owned. Let's go.
I'm a photographer. I like to take the pictures, so it's like.
We'll be back with our next segment in a moment.
We're good. I feel like I went a little. Hey, how we doing? How'd I do, guys? How'd I do? You all right? Who's might go to next?
Oh, wait. I thought I just saw me right now.
Yeah.
It's off? Okay, let's go. Let me know when I'm ready. Bam. All right, that's it. Finally got him on. Maestro. Oh, yo, bro.
Yeah.
Bro. You did not spike me out today.
Oh, I had to, man. I had to.
Yo, bro. Official. Let me know, we're ready? All right, listen, man. I have a very special guest in the building with me. I cannot wait for this interview. Our resident DJ, Maestro, is in the building. Hassan Stevens, very good friend of mine. Brother, welcome to the show. How are you?
I appreciate it. I'm good, man. I love doing this. This is great. What you're doing and the impact is amazing. So,
thank you. You've been a wonderful supporter, man. You've been here for me from day one. You and I met a number of years ago.
Yes, sir.
I don't even remember how long ago it is now. But one of the things I know is that you've been one of the most active community members that we have, running a terrific organization, a Good Life Youth Foundation. They've done some of the heavy lifting in terms of the work that goes on with youth in our city. How did that idea get started, and what made you start that organization?
So honestly, the idea came from originally growing up. I knew I had to give back because so many people gave to me. And the original idea actually was called Nouveau Riche. And it was like NU for Nubian, the black, VO for voice, and Riche, so the black voice of the rich. And that was because of my background and upbringing. I grew up in like deep poverty.
Edenwald
projects in the Bronx, you know, severe poverty, crackheads, bullets flying, very similar. So when I came to Syracuse, very similar to the environment that I saw, and it made me want to just say like, yo, other black and brown kids should not have to experience what I experienced, right? And so in the process of doing it, I realized, you know what, it was just about poverty, and it was about access and opportunity. And so I thought about like, well, what does it take for you to live a good life? And that was it. That sparked the idea. I said I wanted kids to live a good life, which they were not doing, and many are not doing here in Syracuse.
Absolutely. Now, did you have any executive experience before you took over as the leader of that organization?
I'll tell you what, man, I went to school for film and music. Eventually, I started a career at Clear Channel, which is now iHeartRadio, and I was the director of marketing for Hot 107.9 and Power 106.9 at the time, which is now 620. So a lot of my marketing and executive experience started from a black man who gave me an opportunity, Butch Charles. So shout out to my frat brother, Butch Charles.
Absolutely.
And also just a pillar in the community who has given opportunities to many brown, you know, and black brothers like ourselves. So
absolutely.
The rest of it I had to learn on my own, man. I read books, I went to classes, and I'm a sponge. I'm a lifetime learner. So that's how I got it.
And I think it speaks volumes to you as both a leader. I know you have done some critically important things from the role at Good Life as an executive. Again, it's one of the most formidable not-for-profits that we have in the city. There's been a number of incidents that have happened in the last week in particular, some tragedies, especially regarding our youth. The passion that you've had on display for me for well over a decade now, where did that come from in terms of being able to address some of the issues facing these youth, the violence that they face, and some of the tragedies that we've experienced over the last week?
Well, I think many people get to step back and see it as an experience that others experience, but when you've lived it, when you've gone through it, when you've seen it, you can relate to it in a different way. And we're like emotionally connected to the issue. We're emotionally connected. Just because you raise up, you know, financially and you're able to do better things for yourself, it doesn't mean that you don't remember that experience, and it doesn't mean that you're disconnected from an experience that many others have, right? And so my thing, the passion comes from just wanting our kids, our youth, to be able to experience that as well, right? Our jobs is to pay it back. It's to create opportunities. It's to show them the way and to provide the mentoring that they need, because, you know, if we don't do it, who's going to do that, right?
Absolutely.
They're not making decisions that are irrational. They're making rational decisions based on the lives that they're shown, based on the role models that they see. And if we don't show them other examples of role models, then they're going to continue doing the things that they do.
Now, for me, you've been one of the prime examples of success as a black male in this community, as both an executive, as an entrepreneur, as a father. I've seen the development of you as a man, where I can say on camera, I need to be able to say, and especially for our community that really doesn't know Hassan, you've been viewed as an outsider in years past, and that has kind of hurt the development of both you personally and as an organization. How have you been able to overcome that?
You know what? It's not really for me to overcome. I'm going to do me, right?
Absolutely.
And the thing is, it's for the community to overcome, because the reality is, if we measure people up based on whether or not they were born and raised here. I've been here for over 20 years.
By the way, we're claiming you now too.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
But over 20 years, having an impact, giving back. Even when I was on the radio as DJ Maestro, I was doing things in the community. We won a NAB, a National Association for Broadcasters Award for community service. So this is not new. We have to give back to the communities. So if they don't accept me by now, I don't really know what to tell them, because the trajectory is up. So either you with us or you not. It's a movement. I don't know what else to say.
And that is a phenomenal bridge, because my next question for you was about your impact. You've had a tremendous impact on the lives of the young folks in this community. What are some of the ways that you personally feel that you've impacted their lives?
You know, that's a tough question. Because I think as an organization, we've had a lot of impact, but it's hard to measure impact if you haven't gotten 100% of the youth that you've contacted, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so people tell you all the time, don't do this, but what rings in my mind and my heart more than the wins, more than the impact, are the kids that we lost. The kids that died, the kids that got arrested, or, you know, they say it's not a good thing to do, but it's hard to do when you're emotionally connected to this issue. It's like if you lose one, then you feel like you haven't done a great job, you know? And that's the part that it rings with me. It's tough. But as far as impact, I mean, let me see. The raise the age legislation, the governor, New York was one of 2 states left, us in North Carolina, that tried and convicted kids at the age of 16 as adults. We were expert witnesses in that. We're mentioned in the governor's report. A lot of people don't know that we do advocacy. Some of the other wins that we have are the businesses that we started, where we have single-handedly taken youth that could not sustain in other job positions, and we've given them, you know, opportunities to make money. We've over the summer we did a hip hoppreneurship boot camp that you were a part of, that many of the team were a part of, and the county mentioned that there were kids that were committing crimes like every other day. They were getting arrested every other day. During that entire process, there was not one arrest, not a single arrest. For the kids. They were learning entrepreneurship. They had an opportunity to apply that across 5 areas of social ventures. That's what it's about. And a lot of people will say, well, it's not just a poverty issue. Well, you know what? It is. Everything that we're looking at is a byproduct of the concentrated poverty that we see here in Syracuse. So if we can attack the poverty, then we can change some of the violence and all the other issues that are byproducts of it.
Absolutely. You know, I had a chance to work directly with you and your organization in terms of the youth entrepreneurship. There were a number of programs that kind of bridged off from there, from landscaping. You now have the store that is located here. Tell us about the store and the t-shirt company, because that was another one of the entrepreneurial ventures that the children got to be a part of, kind of design their own t-shirts and get them off. Tell us about that.
So everything we do is from a spirit of culture, right? We know that culture leads everything and guides everything. And so we provided opportunities for kids to embrace and love and feel proud about the culture that they identify with, which is hip hop. And so when we first started Social Ventures, we said, well, what are the areas that they could do and learn without necessarily having the resources, the upfront capital that you needed to start a business? And we thought about t-shirts. They could, you know, come up with ideas and create ideas, and then we could find other people to print it. That eventually grew into us buying equipment, and we're continuing to expand the equipment. So we called the company GL Imprinting, very much like when ducks imprint on their flock. We are imprinting. We're printing, but we're leaving an imprint on the youth. And so GL Imprinting kind of graduated into the life where we now have a store, thanks to collaboration with the Allen Family Foundation, where they provided a space inside the Salt City Market. And we are selling multiple. So the beauty of this is that we're not just impacting the youth and giving them opportunities to create apparel, sell apparel, and make money. We're also impacting local Black and brown entrepreneurs that have a vision and dream, that want to put their products in the store, have them be seen. They get market research, they get feedback from the market, and they get the revenue that's driven from there while we man it. So it's a beautiful win-win, not just for the kids, but for us, for the community, and for those who want the products.
Absolutely. Listen, man, like I'm literally getting some chills just thinking about all the different ways that you have impacted the community. One of the things that you talked about, you know, giving different opportunities to different entrepreneurs. One of the things I'm most proud of you as, when I walk into your organization, the majority of your organization looks exactly like you. There are very few not-for-profits in the city of Syracuse who have a staff that reflect the community that they're serving. I want to mention a few of those brothers because I've worked with them personally. I know the passion that they work with. JT Houston, AZ, Shah, a number of other folks. Bro, you surround yourself with some real kings in this community. How did that happen, man?
So honestly, man, we have always, I think a pillar of our success has always been talent search, right? Just like yourself too. Like, we identify strong relationships and we fortify strong relationships. We're big on collaboration. We identify the talents in the community and we get together and we go to work, right? And that's really what it's about. And I think there was a misconception out there because of the way we operate that, you know, we weren't representative of the community, but we operate on, you know, a credible messenger model, which means means that we pull and hire from within the community that we serve, and they use their previously life experience to relate to the kids and to help shape the kids, right? You being one of yourselves. A lot of people don't know your background. We don't even want to talk about that because right now listen, man, you are a pillar in the community, and kids get an opportunity to see who you are, but they also get to hear about things that you've done, mistakes that you've made, and how they can actually turn their lives around. So for me, that's why it's so important to have people that look like them. And we don't discriminate. You know, we have Sean McCarthy. We get the best of the best. Our board is a reflection of the best talents and skills that we need at the table for us to be a thriving community. But we also want to make sure that the kids get to see people that look like them.
And so important, man. Listen, this talk was really great for me. I think it really gave me an opportunity to be able to address some of the misconceptions I feel like that are out in the community. For me, you're one of the best leaders selfless leaders that we have in the community. Again, give back in so many different ways. The impact is almost immeasurable. I know you don't want to take credit for a lot of that, but it's one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you on camera. I wanted to tell you thank you as a native Syracusan for all that you brought to the table, the passion that you bring, the commitment that you bring. And now from Edenwald Projects, you're now a solid member of the Syracuse community. We get to claim you now. So DJ Maestro, I gotta shout him out again. Again, one of the best executive leaders that we have in the city, entrepreneur, father, success, a high success model just in terms of what you've done personally and as an entrepreneur, man. I gotta thank you again for coming out, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I thank you. And I also want to say I thank my team. So it's not just me, it's about the people that's around us. So thank you to everybody that contributes to helping to show these kids how to live a good life.
Shout out to Good Life, everybody, especially my man AZ. That's my right hand right there. AZ. Shout out to Ryan, Ortez, everybody I know, JT, Ryan, everybody over at Good Life. Thank you guys for what
if you don't know what we're talking about, of course, how could you not? But H2 Fitness, JT.
AT, peace. Thank you, Hassan. Bam. How'd that work? Now he's...
DJ Maestro. DJ Maestro.
Meet me at the London. If you find time, we can run one. Talk about some things we can undo. You just in the pen, I can find you. 6'1" on the money, 9'2". You just say the word and I run through. 2 texts, no reply, that's when I knew. Yeah, circumnavigate the globe as the cash grows. Get a whack like you get the grass mowed. I'm talking slick when I'm with the big slime. Could hit your, you can never hit mine.
And now, for the finale of our 5th installment of our virtual rent party, phenomenal episode, mayoral candidate Michael Green, Stacey Bailey, Kenny Pace of Pace One Way Photography, and phenomenal interview with my guy right here, DJ Maestro. But the reason you all are here, again, one winner per month, a black-owned business within the city of Syracuse will win $500, and it is time for our official drawing going into Memorial Day weekend, and the winner of our $500 for our 5th installment is... Well, will you look at that? Who wants smoked barbecue? Tamika Chachi Barnett, you are the winner of our $500 for this month. Congratulations, Chach, you got it. Thank you so much for joining us again. It's been a phenomenal episode. I had a ball. We're gonna ride out with my man DJ Maestro over here. Again, thank you for joining us, for all the support we've received throughout the city. Make sure you join us next month for our next episode of our virtual rent party. Chris, take us away.
Meet me at the London. If you find time, we can run one. Talk about some things we can undo. Meet me at the London. If you find time, we can run one. Talk about some things we can undo. You just in the pen, I can find you. 6'1"
DJ Maestro.
Two texts, no reply, that's when I knew. Yeah. Meet me at the London. If you find time, we can run one. Talk about some things we can undo. You just in the pen, I can find you. 6'1" on the money, 9'2". You just say the word and I run through. 2 texts, no reply, that's when I knew. Yeah, circumnavigate the globe as the cash grows. Get a whack like you get the grass mowed. I'm talking slick when I'm with the big slime. Could hit your, you can never hit mine.
Honey, I can see the stars.
DJ Maestro.
Away from here. Can't you see the glow on the window pane? I can feel the sun whenever you're near. Every time you touch me, I just melt away. Everybody asks me why I'm smiling out from ear to ear.
I want to shout out all the ladies out there that are tuning in. A very strong force of entrepreneurship. All the female entrepreneurs out there. It's crazy right now. We're loving it. Keep it up.
Like a trucker, nice thighs, nice waist.
For CNY Vision. CNY Vision doing it up.
I'm about to make you
man, Chris.
Girl, I just wanna see you strip right now. 'cause it's late, babe. I just wanna see you strip. Goddamn with it. Girl, I just wanna see you strip. Goddamn you sexy. For me. Goddamn you sexy. Baby. Goddamn you sexy. Girl, I just wanna see you.
I never thought I'd see the day that you my old girl. Now I'm stuck here hollering at old girl. Got one, got two, three, four girls. Shotgun in a drop, made a right. Hut one, hut two. Told him take a hike, then it's on to the next, on to the next one. Hard to move on when you always regret one. I wonder sometimes, I wonder if I was wrong. Trying to do right by you, got me here. Now all I am is alone. 'Cause I told you, and I don't compare. Oh, I bet all they do is distract me now. Deep down, when I face it, all I want is you. All I want is you. Now, all I want is you now. How did you go? Nothing's too much. Words that I live by. That's just how I do. I'm young right now, but I won't be forever. So I'ma live it up like that's true. You might wanna roll with me too. Said I don't mean to brag, but I live a life that most can only dream about. Yeah. So baby, come be my dream girl. Pick up fantasy and let me work. Yeah. Oh yeah. Tell me where you wanna go, what you wanna do. So we living it like we own it. Said I'm on top of the world. What I need is you. So we living it like we own it. Put that on that beat. Oh.
Give me all that you got now. Make you want me 'cause I'm hot now. I'm gone, so faded, I'm on one. Bang, bang, pop off like a long gun. If you a lame nigga, you ain't making no noise. Get faded, turn up with the big boys. Live fast, die young, that's my choice. Get money like an invoice. We can rumble in the whip, make the money, make the grip. I be stunning with my click. Get it faded till we trip. Man, I love to get on. I love to get to one. When the drink get too strong, when the tree be way too strong. Get faded, turn up, bro, pull it on up till I can't even think no more. Get ratchet, go dumb, then go more dumb, then we can keep it little, 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 little.
Maestro.
You left me broken hearted from the day your love departed. Now that love you found with someone new is gone, wanna come back, my love. Oh, what you gonna do? What you gonna do, baby? My love. Now that my love, I was a fool.
Running through these checks till I pass out. Shorty give me till I pass out. I swear to God, all I do is cash out. And if you ain't up, get up on my trap house. I've been selling since like the 5th grade. Really never made no difference with the shit made. Jaja told me flip them how to maintain. Get that money back and spend it on the same thing. Shorty like the way that I ball out. I be getting money till I fall out. You talking cash, dog, I go all out. Shorty love the way that I flow out. Free greasy them, let all of my dogs out. Mama said no cats inside my dog house. That's what got my daddy locked up in the dog pound. She stand on them, let all of my dogs out. We gon' pull up in that like we cops on them. With them, we gon' put some shit on them. I send a little dot, I send a drop on them. She gon' call me up and I'ma sip the hots on them. Grammy Savage, that's what we are. Grammy's dressed in G-Star. GS9, I go so hard. But GS for my squad. If there's a problem, we gon' get the ball. Popping up it. I'm with Trigger, I'm with Rasha, I'm with A-Raw. Broad daylight and we gon' let them things blow. Tell them free me, yo. Subway, free breezy, yo. And tell my murder team, bro. About a week ago, with us in the
DJ Maestro.
We had a lot of fun with this live episode. I'm glad you guys tuned in. For everybody that was out there that tuned in, please check out the next month's episode of Virtual Rent Party. Shout out to Ricky Brown, who's holding it down for the city of Syracuse and upstate New York in general with Diversify New York. Shout out to CNY Visions Productions, Chris Tracy in the house doing his thing. And I appreciate everybody that tunes in and loves the beats, all right? DJ Maestro, Hassan Stevens, signing off.